There are officially less than 50 days in 2025, so here are my 10 before the end. If you're new here, my name is Gabrielle and I do bookish and lifestyle content here on YouTube, TikTok and Instagram, and I'm also an aspiring author. So in today's video, I thought I would go through the 10 books that I am prioritising to read before the end of the year. Bear in mind, this is a very, very optimistic list. I think you can see some of the sizes of some of the books on here. This is also a way for me to get through my physical TBR. I have 7 of the books in physical form and the rest are on Kindle. I also want to say that I actually have 20 books left on my 2025 reading challenge. I set it at 90 books for this year. And there's absolutely no way that I'm reading 20 books between now and the end of the year. But a girl can dream. Who knows, we might pull it out of the bag. But let's get into the 10 priority reads I want to get to before the end of 2025. The first one is actually my current read, and it is the final book in the Zodiac Academy series. This one is called Restless Stars, and I'm about halfway through. If you've read this series before, you will know that this book is a beast. It is over 1,200 pages, which is basically 4 books combined. I'm over halfway through, but I prioritised this read just because I started this series over a year ago now, and I'm determined to finish it before we go into the new year. As this is the last book in a series, I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you have never heard of the Zodiac Academy series or have heard of it and are considering reading it, I absolutely 100% recommend that you do. This series is the optimum enemies to lovers, like actual enemies to lovers, and the greatest slow burn of all time. From this series, I have now developed a love of books that have quite a lot of POVs. I love seeing all of the characters' points of views throughout the entire series. It just gives such a deep level to the story that you otherwise wouldn't have got. It does make the books hella long, but it's so worth it. It's also going to feel really, really good ticking off such a big series from my TBR and marking it as complete. Another final book in a series that I really would love to finish before the end of the year. Another series that I started again over a year ago and just haven't found the will to pick it up. It's the final book in the Crescent City series, and it is House of Flame and Shadow. I started this book at the beginning of the year. I got to chapter 10 and I just couldn't do it. I feel so intimidated by the size of this book, as you would be. This book is huge, but then I'm thinking it's not as big as the Zodiac Academy books, so why am I putting this off and prioritising Zodiac Academy? Part of me has been waiting for the next ACOTAR book announcement, and obviously we have had a sort of announcement in regards to that, but we don't have a date. So I'm feeling like once I finish this, am I going to be waiting a very, very long time for more content? But I really don't want to go into another year still not completing this series. There's obviously a lot of spoilers online for this series. There's a lot of discussions and chat on theories on social media all about this series, and I have been avoiding them for as long as possible, but how long am I actually going to be able to keep that up? The Crescent City series is definitely not my favourite one from SGM. However, I really did enjoy the first book, and after the ending of the second book, I don't know why I'm putting off going into this, but I really need to. I really, really, really need to finish this read. So can I do it? Please convince me to read this book because I need all the motivation that I can get. I actually have a couple of new releases on this priority TBR. This new release is literally hot off the press and I have it downloaded on my Kindle, but it's Between Two Kings by Lindsay Straube. And this is the book following Kiss of the Basilisk, which, if you know, is the most unhinged read that I have ever read. Ever. And I've been hearing such good things about the second book and the fact that it might be even more unhinged. I also recently went to an online event with Lindsay Straube and honestly it's just put me in the mood to read it, so this has been bumped up so high on my priority TBR and I actually think I might pick it up next. I think this book is about 500 pages, so definitely not as long as the first 2 that we've went into, so I definitely feel like I can get it in. And also the previous book was so bingeable, you were just in utter shock of what was happening the entire time that you could not put it down. So I'm expecting the same bingeability, if that's even a word, of this one, and I'll absolutely devour it within a few days. Another one on my Kindle is one that I recently downloaded, and I believe that it is a new release in the traditional publishing world, but it was indie published previously, and this is The Wolf King. And I was a bit hesitant because I did not love Direbound, which is another wolf romantasy. But what really pulled me in to read this one is the fact that it is based on Scotland. I don't know how that's going to translate, but a lot of the art and everything that's coming out of this is very tartan. Basically, if any book attempts to be in any way Scottish, I will probably pick it up, especially if it's a romantasy. So I'm giving wolf books another go, and I'm really excited to get into this one actually. It really bumped up on my TBR when I saw a lot of the Scottish references and imagery on the advertisement of this book, so your girl's coming for it. Along similar lines, we have Nightshade. This is a dark academia romance, and this is actually based in the Scottish Highlands as well. Now, I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with dark academia, but I have been seeing nothing but amazing things about this book, and especially the romance within this book. A lot of people are talking about the absolute yearning that this man has for her, and it's also one of the shorter ones that I have on my TBR. I've had this book since August, and I feel it's time that I pick it up. I also think that a good murder mystery dark academia romance is really good for around this time of year when it's a little bit miserable and rainy and cold. It'll really get me in the vibe, especially since it's based in the Scottish Highlands, so I'm expecting a fair amount of rain. The next one was an arc that I was sent during the summer, but I just haven't had a chance to pick it up before now, and it is Arcana Academy. And I've heard a lot of people say that this book is so good to cure your Zodiac Academy hangover. Again, it's set in another magical academy, and I think there's different houses set in this academy. Kind of similar to Hogwarts, I guess. And really, apart from that, I don't know much about this book, but I thought that since I'm coming to the end of my Zodiac Academy journey, I will be looking for things to give me similar vibes, because I feel like that is going to be such a big heartbreak for me that I'm never going to step foot in Zodiac Academy again. So I need to find another academy that I'm going to be obsessed with. And although I've heard some good reviews from this book, I actually haven't heard that much. So I'm really intrigued to get into it. So overall, this book is a little bit of a mystery to me, but something is pulling me towards reading it. So yeah, I really hope I can get to this one. The next book I have is a bit of a tricky one. So this is the Grimm and Oro book, which is part of the Lightlark series. And this is a Lightlark story, but in the point of view from Grimm and Oro. So this is Grimm's side, and this is Oro's side. I don't know how to describe it, but the book is split in half between the two. So you read Grimm's side first, and then you flip it round and read Oro's side. And I really want to read this book because I pre-ordered this edition because it's absolutely stunning. But do I need to read Skyshade before I read this book? Because I started Skyshade and I ended up stopping, but I'm happy to pick it up again. It was a soft DNF. Do I need to read Skyshade before I read Grimm and Oro? I'm thinking no, because Grimm and Oro is the point of view of Lightlark, and I have read Lightlark. But please let me know, do I need to read Skyshade before I read this book? And I also think that this book should be considered two books because it's split in half. Just saying. But I am really excited to get into this. One thing I really enjoy in romantasy reading is when we only get the FMC's point of view, I really like little snippets of the MMC's point of view, or in this case, like an entire book. I just think it's so fun to see different situations in the different characters' point of views. So I'm really excited to get into this one. Okay, another one that I've had for so long, which is Neverkeep. This is actually the ARC copy of Neverkeep, and I've had this for so long. It's actually embarrassing how long I've actually had this. Obviously, this is from the authors of Zodiac Academy, and it is another series that they started, and I believe it's set in a war academy, and I love that kind of setting. And again, we've got more enemies to lovers, true enemies to lovers, and I feel I have been putting this off for me to eventually finish Zodiac Academy. So now that I am finishing Zodiac Academy, or I'm in the process of it at least, I feel like I am allowed to pick up this book. I don't actually know if they're connected. I believe there's snippets of a connection between the two series, but I don't think you need to have read Zodiac Academy to read this one. But again, this book is long. We're looking at borderline upwards of 700 pages. I mean, the writing is quite big inside, but it's still quite a lot of pages. It's also really heavy. I do believe that this is on Kindle Unlimited, so I can download this on my Kindle as well. But I just feel this one has been sitting on my shelf for so long that I'm determined to pick it up. I actually have the second installment in the series as well, and what I'm thinking is this could be like the last book of the year, and then I can go into the new year and start with the second book in the series. I always find that that is an easier way for me to transition from one year to another, is to start a series prior to the year finishing and then continue that series in the new year. Otherwise, I feel like it is a really harsh transition, and it's like first book of the year is like a completely new book and it's quite daunting. So in my head, starting a series at the end of the year and then continuing that series as the new year happens makes it a little bit of a less daunting time for me. I feel the new year, you're starting your new resolutions, you're starting your new reading goals, you're starting your new whatever. So I feel like starting a new series is just another new thing that you're just adding to the pile, which we don't need to do. I can continue a series and it'll feel a little bit less crazy at that time of year. You're actually going to kill me, but I have another Twisted Sisters book. Again, same authors from Zodiac Academy, but this is another new series that they've recently started, which is called Hollow. This comes out at the end of November. I believe it's like the 24th, 25th. And this got bumped up to the top of my TBR because I feel that the hype on this is real. And if I see any hype on a Twisted Sisters book, I know that the hype is real. I know this is going to give me such good enemies to lovers vibes. I know that I'm going to be obsessed with the world building. And honestly, I want to be part of experiencing this book with everyone else. So I'm 100% going to read this book this month. It is not as long as the Zodiac Academy books or Never Keep, but it's still pretty long. Let me find. It's still upwards of 500 pages, so still a reasonably sized book, but not as daunting as like a 700 to 1200 page read. And I also find it really fun now that I am almost caught up on Zodiac Academy, and then I'll eventually catch up on Never Keep and Echo Fort, that I can be amongst the buzz and excitement of when a new Twisted Sisters book comes out. I feel like because this one is just about to come out, I'm seeing a lot of like hype and like people reading the arc and giving good reviews and some like character art coming out. I feel like I'm right in amongst it, and that is really exciting for me. Again, I don't know if this series correlates or is connected to Zodiac Academy or the Signs of the Zodiac series, but I guess we'll find out. And lastly, we have Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I went to one of her book signings and I got this really beautiful edition with the sprayed edges. And this again is one of the shorter ones that I have on my TBR. And when I was at the signing, Stephanie Garber did say to me that it would be really good to read this around Halloween. Obviously Halloween is past, so I'm hoping I can pick it up fairly soon so that I'm still getting the vibes that she intended with this book. Honestly, I loved Caraval and I loved Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I have been waiting for a new book or book trilogy or book series from Stephanie Garber for so long, I feel, that I'm really hoping that it gives me the similar whimsical, really atmospheric vibes that I got with the other series. I mean, I literally expect nothing less. She is such a beautiful writer, and I do believe that this is going to be the first book in a new trilogy. She loves a trilogy. Just reading the inside of the book, it kind of looks like it's going to be a bit of fantasy realism. It looks like it's set in Los Angeles, and the blurb is kind of giving me vibes that it's kind of like a magical story come to life. I also don't know if this one is an adult romantasy, as her other two trilogies are young adult. I guess I will find out while I'm reading. But I feel that Stephanie Garber's writing is so good for this time of year. I feel that this time of year can be a little bit drab and sad sometimes, and I feel like when you're younger this time of year it feels so magical, like it's coming up to Christmas, we're gonna have lights everywhere. But when you're an adult it kind of doesn't hit the same, And I feel like books like these really make me feel the whimsy and the excitement that I used to feel at this time of year. I don't know if anyone else feels the same, but after reading Stephanie Garber's books a couple of years ago now, around this time of year, they hold such a special place in my heart for the way that they made me feel at that time. So I'm definitely going to be reading this before the end of 2025. So these are all the books that I am prioritising to read before the end of the year. I feel like 10 is a nice round number for me to try and achieve. However, some of these books are very chunky, and if I don't get to them, I don't get to them. But these are the books that I would absolutely love to finish before the new year, particularly the series that have taken me over a year to try and complete. I feel like during the year you get so wrapped up with all different books that you've seen online, any new releases, or different books that you've had on your TBR for a long time, and a lot of the books that you really want to read get put in the back burner because you're actually intimidated by trying to read it, or you have such high expectations of the book that you almost don't want to be disappointed. At least that's how I feel with a lot of my most anticipated reads. I put such high expectations on them, and most of the time they do meet the expectations. So I don't know why I put them off, but I just get in my head and then all of my anticipated reads just get pushed and pushed and pushed. But I feel like since we have such a short time before the end of the year, and as I said, this time of year can sometimes feel a little bit drab and sad, and I want to fill it with as many good reads as I possibly can. Please tell me what books are on your priority TBR to finish before the end of 2025. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.